So we're on a train now from Riga to Kemeri National Park. Well, the stop is called Kemeri, and from there we walk on.
This walk only really begins once you reach the boggy woodland areas of Kemeri, but first you'll have to get there.
So we've just gotten off the train at Kemeri and we noticed a large trail map, and following on from that we managed to find a sign leading us to the Kemeri Bog Trail, which is what we're about to go and discover now.
There are several signposts that lead the way to the national park from the starting point not too far from the train station. But once you've crossed that last main road on the journey, you are then led down a secluded countryside pathway and through a long, eerie cemetery before you reach the national park.
So after a long walk, we finally made it to our starting point, and it looks like we are the only ones over here as it's pretty deserted. Upon encountering this place, we did find another notice board as well as an information shack.
The trail into the national park begins with the typical wooden boardwalk that tourists use to traverse through the boggy marshlands. Just be careful when walking along these on a wet day, as they can get quite slippery, as my wife had unfortunately found out the hard way. The bogs of the national park are also home to native wildlife. While the conditions are not particularly favourable for a large diversity of plant life to survive here, there are several plants that are specifically adapted to the conditions found here. For example, mosses and orchids can grow here, and sometimes you may find that wild cranberries and blueberries also grow here.
If there's one thing I can say about this national park, is that it's very difficult to lose the path.
As for fauna, there are several species of mollusks, gastropods, and even otters native to the national park, and birds such as the European golden plover and the wood sandpiper breed in these environments.
So I've been to many national parks up until now, and every so often you'll find one that is characteristically different or unique. And this is definitely one of those.
Interestingly, these marshlands were also the final resting place for several tanks that were absorbed into the depths of its bogs during World War II. After an intriguing day trekking through the Kemeri National Park, we decided to make our way to the city of Jurmala. There are several interesting districts to choose from in order to check out Jurmala, some of which offer an interesting glimpse into local culture and history, such as the district of Mayori. But on this occasion, we decided to go further on.
So heading back in the direction of Riga, we decided to stop at Lialupe so that we can go check out the Ragakapa National Park as well as the Jurmala Beach. So the road leading to the nature park that also happens to be parallel to the beach, which we're also going to be visiting very soon, is full of mansions, which I wouldn't be surprised probably belongs to some very rich businessmen, oligarchs, and maybe even politicians.
The Ragakapa Nature Park is essentially a protected area where large dunes were created as a result of centuries of wind activity. The area is also covered with an ancient pine forest, where some pines are thought to be several centuries old. As part of the conservation efforts to preserve the dunes, the forest, and the seacoast's biodiversity, hiking trails through the nature park sometimes involves trekking over ramps and boardwalks. Naturally, where there are sand dunes, there usually is or was a coastline nearby. In this case, the coastline to the Baltic Sea is just a short walking distance away from the nature park. Walking on to Lialupe Beach and encountering the Baltic Sea, especially for the first time, is nothing short of incredible.
So here we are, my first experience on the shores of the Baltic Sea, and it is surprisingly very placid, but then again, there aren't really any rough winds, so I shouldn't really expect there to be rough waves. Nevertheless, I can expect it to be pretty cold, but that I'm not going to be checking out.
Given the reputation of the Baltic Sea for being very cold, particularly during the winter months, in the summer months it is not unusual to find these beaches teeming with sunbathers and people swimming in the sea. As you can probably tell, our trip to Latvia did not quite intersect with this aforementioned time of the year. Moving on from Lielupė Beach and heading back to the train station to catch our train back to Riga, we decided to trek through the district of Bulduri to get our last glimpse of some eccentric buildings characteristic of the local area. If you enjoyed this video, please click the like button and subscribe to our channel.